Okay, good morning all. This is Alan. We're just having our OCP HPC subproject main meeting on February the 20th, 2024. So hi guys. I'm actually away on business at the moment, and I do have to run at the bottom of the hour. So I've only got a few 20 minutes here. But basically, I wanted to give an update. We can switch and take a quick look at the proposal if we like. There's been some progress going on, so I can update people with that with regards to the Oak Ridge National Lab New Frontiers proposal. But the main thing I wanted to let everybody know was good news and maybe bad news. It's I got an email just last week from the procurement team saying that the RFP is on hold at the moment, and I believe that's related to the funding continuing resolution issues. And so they've said they don't know when we will be notified of when the proposal will be coming out. But essentially, the good news is we've got a little bit more time. In my mind, that's a double-edged sword because a deadline focuses the mind. You know, I'd really like us to continue to make more progress. We've been a bit slow in getting some meat into the document, so I didn't want to slow that down. And I can go into a few more details there. The other thing I wanted to just touch on was the fact that I did put myself and Munir did put a couple of presentation proposals into the OCP Regional Summit. So mine is basically a general update proposal, but I did say I wanted to emphasize the thermal design in a bit more detail than I've done in the past, and also the interconnect design, this idea of a universal interconnect. So I wanted to make a bit more progress on the universal interconnect. I'm not sure if we're gonna get both presentations. So in Munir's presentation was an update on the approach to the system management side of the design. And an open approach to the hardware and as well as all the software of the system management. So we've got those two in. They have been overrun with submissions, so there will be quite a bit of cutting, I believe, from what I've heard. So I don't know whether we will keep both, or maybe they might consolidate them into one for us. And I suspect we may be limited to 15 minutes or something like that. So we've yet to hear. I think that's about a week away, and then we've got till I believe the middle of March or sometime in March to actually get the draft presentations into them. So I guess just for that, I'm hoping that we can make a little bit more progress on some of the thermal side of the proposal and the universal interconnect. So any questions on that? No? Okay.
Hey, Alan, it's Jeff. I was only able to join via the phone call here.
Hi, Jeff. Well, glad you could connect the audio. Actually, on that, maybe if you don't mind, would you mind just giving us a brief introduction of who you are? And
yeah, my name's Jeff Mershon. I've actually been a part of OCP since the very beginning of it, with a number of other folks like peer brushers and folks at Facebook. I was leading a lot of the Western digital side of things at that time, and have since left and started my own business to go figure out how to solve the problem of how do you manage all this infrastructure with as few people as possible, because that was one of the big struggles that I had found was resonating between all the folks that came to Open Compute shows, IT folks. And so I'm at a company called Unified Point. We are building tools that manage the full life cycle of infrastructure. And what we do is we provide predictive, preventative, and proactive maintenance capabilities, along with a full breadth of knowledge around what's happening, what's going on within your data center, so that you can manage your infrastructure more strategically instead of tactically. What we found is people were really throwing a bunch of humans and more hardware because they couldn't figure out what was going on in their infrastructure. So their visibility was really low. And so we're solving those problems. And was interested, we're also working with other folks in government. And so when I saw, I think what was it last week, I saw something on the Oak Ridge Labs opportunity going out, was interested in seeing if there was an opportunity to join your group and provide our software within that package as well.
Okay. Well, thank you for the introduction and welcome to the team. Yeah, so we do a quick introduction of any new attendees. So thanks for that, Jeff. Interesting area. I don't know how much you know in terms of getting up to speed on what we're up to. The best thing to probably do is to go to the OCP HPC wiki. If you just Google search that should take you to our wiki. And there is an introductory video there, a very high level overview that I gave at the OCP Global Summit last October. So that would that would at least set the scene for you. We are a very radical.
And that's a video?
It's a video recording, yeah. And I think the slides are there as well. It's quite a radical approach that we're attempting here. And as far as your aspect of it, very good aspect. I think you could probably look at it two ways, because you actually construct the data center there rather than shipping in completely completed racks, as I think we're moving more and more towards today. But one of the very far out concepts, it was that we could service our approach with some sort of gantry robot in a similar manner to the way tape drives are managed, like an IBM tape drive system, to actually service the installations. But we're in very early concepts, and that piece of it would be once we got the computer architecture up and running. So take a look. In terms of our proposal, we're basically, in fact, let me just bring this up and share. Oh, I see we've got a just a quick one. Jing Fu, you just joined us.
Yeah.
Hi,
I joined this call before.
You have? Okay, Jing Fu.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll capture you in a. Let me just see if I can find you here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're from Inventec, right? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. So let me just share my screen. And share the Google Chrome. Okay. What I'll do, rather than hopefully everybody should already have access to this proposal. There in some of the minutes of previous meetings, there should be a link to this. If you can't find it, just say. At the moment, everybody will have only read-only access, but I'm giving full edit access to anybody that wants to contribute to the document. I just don't want anyone random getting in there. So, so the way we've split this document up is I'm given an overview introduction, and unfortunately, I don't Bob Ciotti, if it was a previous contributor to the to our calls in terms of his opinion. He quite liked our architectural approach, but he was with NASA. And he's actually he was the CTO of NASA. He's just moved on to another organization that does supply and look after equipment to the labs. And he was going to review this document and maybe contribute. And they have engagement with the labs. So from a commercial perspective, he was going to see if his company would be interested in helping us out on this proposal from a system integrator perspective, or working with a system integrator. And
what was his name again?
Bob Ciotti.
Bob Ciotti.
Ciotti, Ciotti, I believe. So you know,
Okay.
Bob's not given any commitment yet, but he was going to speak to his company.
That'd be great.
So with regards to this, the approach in the proposal is that we have one sort of lead system integrator. So I give some background in this document, but then I come to basically, just without getting embroiled in too many details here. Let's see if I can go down to here. Right. So there's a big overview of what we're trying to do, and then in terms of the proposal, I've said we split this project into several pieces, and the idea is depending on how the government looks at this, assuming they want to fund us at all, is the first pass. Is we've got several activities going on here, which I think are innovative in their own right. That maybe they would say we don't want to fund the whole lot, but we like what you're doing there. We might fund that piece of it. So the document's structured with the system integrators doing the overall introduction here, and they would manage all of the sub projects going on. Everybody that wants to be involved in this and contributes to this document, you would contribute your piece, and you would say, for us to do this, how much would it cost? So we need to structure the finances into the proposal as well. So we'd have system integrators, and we had a couple of companies interested, but the one that's making the most contribution right now is a startup called Teresa. And so the CEO is Renew, and you can see Renew's got some comments and added some additional stuff into the introductory area. And potentially Bob, with his company and their relationship in terms of working commercially with the labs, might be able to collaborate with Renew. So if he gets to go ahead, I'll introduce him to Renew on the system integrator side. And then we've got these other sections, the high performance compute module development. You know, we need to develop several of our modules. And so getting that going would be good to give us some products to actually begin to test in this infrastructure. But fundamentally, we need to get the power and thermal infrastructure in place. We need to get this universal interconnect, the electrical and optical, the near packaged optics, and potentially how do we support co-packaged optics in the design, and the system management. So these are the fundamental sections that we split it into. So I've drawn a basic diagram of that, the system integrators. So I'm hoping that each one of these sections of this document will be fairly standalone, but integrated together in the complete system solution. But if the government said, we like the power and thermal ideas you're playing with. We're only going to fund that when, so we would separate out the funding aspect of each of these pieces. So it'd be pretty clear that we need this much money for this piece, this much money for this piece, and then pulling it all together, the system integrators need this much money. So the document then gets broken down into those various sections, and there you go. I in the sections in the system integrators, I identified AbratWorks. I'm not sure that that's going to follow through as a system integrator, but Teresa are actively contributing to this document, and so I think they're our lead candidate at the moment. On the power and thermal, we've had a tremendous amount of discussions over the years, and many thanks to the Boyd Corporation. They've helped us go through a few different iterations over the last few years to come to where we are today. They've given some great feedback on what we have today and some of the challenges they think we'll experience. And we've had a number of other companies with expertise in the area providing some suggestions on what we're doing there. Ender, that's on the call as well, has done simulations. In fact, won an award in a couple of years ago at the OCP Future Technologies in the analysis that he did of our initial design. So we've got a lot of players that have come and gone here, and so today I think Boyd are happy to help us with the design we have. They provided a lot of ideas on what we would need to do, but I think the direction we're sort of taking an immersion cooling piece of the big chip, and this conformal coating approach that University of Illinois came up with, and we've also been cooling with water, which is more efficient, and also looking at potential two-phase by pulling a vacuum, getting water to boil at lower temperatures. So there's some radical thinking going on here, which might be which hopefully would be a novel way to solve this compared to some of the other ways being implemented. So in terms of who's contributing, there's another chap that's been doing a lot of work on the thermal side called Peter. I don't think Peter's on the call. He's put some info into this. I think this initial discussion is from him. Enders has recently just put some additional stuff in. So from the studies he previously did for us on the older designs. But we need to get some coherence into this of exactly what we're going to get done. The idea is we build a power and thermal prototype where basically we construct the wall piece and the module, and we make a module. We make literally a test module that can deliver that can pull the kilowatt plus of power on the module in the and the media devices, and actually prove that we can cool it. That we'll have a simulation step maybe where we can get at least a basic simulation that the fundamental design is not fundamentally flawed. So that's what we need to get into this section. I think this is quite an interesting novel section, which may or may not, it may be too radical for some, but also heat reuse is built into this. So we recover energy from these modules with a constant water temperature of about 65 degrees C would be the idea. On the Universal Interconnect, we've got some good activity. Z from Amphenol who's on the call today, has put a fair bit of detail into. We need to make the connectors, which were standard connectors today. We need to get rid of their through-hole features because of the two-sided design of these modules. So he's already provided some concept ideas of modifying the existing connectors for that capability. But one of the areas which I think is novel is the So this just talks about the existing details. We've talked about being able to thermally cool, conductively cool the active cables of around 5, maybe 10 watts, so that in these miniature connectors rather than big SFP cages. So we've got that. So the idea of the universal interconnect is we can connect any, from a mechanical and an electrical perspective, we can support any of the standards from like PCIe, CXL to Ethernet or NVLink or Infinity Fabric. So anything would be communicatable, any protocol over this universal interconnect infrastructure. It could exist as a passive cable, an active copper cable, an active optical cable, like a near packaged optics, silicon photonics, or similar, or even co-packaged, where we actually have the photonics on the module itself. And so I have some, we've been discussing some 3D models of that with one of the optical vendors, a company called Avicenna, that do the LED optical approach. They gave me some 3D models of their interconnect. And so that's the other aspect. So building a universal interconnect would be, I think, might be quite an attractive one for the government to consider. And then on the HPCM module development, we would need to make a bunch of modules. So we've listed a bunch of companies that could be interested. Certainly, Fabrica are part of the Teresa gang. So we will hopefully be able to get a module made by them, or a proposal. Lumineer is a design sort of service company, so they could design any module we need to build. And likewise with Progress Analog. We are actually the first one, if for those of you that remember, is an FPGA one. But we would need, ideally, it'd be good to build a few modules. And the modules we actually do target, well, in terms of Teresa's use case, then they have a few specific modules they would like to build, like I said, in Fabrica, and maybe an AMD and an Intel one. And then the only other thing we would need to do is do some modifications to existing E3 modules to make them compatible with the conductive cooling idea that we've got. So hopefully Samsung and Micron can help us out on that front at least. So anyway, so that's for those of you that are new to the proposal we're pulling together. This is it. Just to reiterate, I mean, the good news is we've got a long way to go on this document still. But the good news is that the RFP is on hold at the moment. I'm not sure how long it will be before it gets released from hold. All that I do know is once it is fully released, the final RFP, we have 4 to 6 weeks to respond, is what I've been told. So the clock will start ticking rapidly when the final RFP comes out. Okay. Any questions? I know I barreled through all of that. Again, you should be able to read through this document, and I'm happy for anybody to contribute. We are a complete. One of the key things about this that I think will give us merit is the fact that it is an open approach, and it's a collaboration of many small companies. The government would like to have more of an open architecture. I'm pretty sure from the previous discussions we've had with them in their request for information. But equally, they're used to having this one throat to choke. So this is where we can, if you can have a system integrator at the top, then they, monies and management can funnel through the system integrator. So that's where I think we need a good solid interface into the government for that. And so the commercial side of this proposal will need to be drawn up once we've got the meat in this. And as far as I'm concerned, anybody that contributes to making this document, very, a very attractive proposal. And we've got to all work together. We need to this is an open architecture approach. We're trying to make an IBM PC of today for today's challenges in computing, the way we go about computing. If we make progress, this has to be an open architecture. So the contributors, whilst you can have your own innovations and your own IP, the interfaces need to make this an open architecture. So that's what we need to be clear of in this document. Yeah, okay. Any questions?
Hey, Alan, this is Jeff. Do you know if they have any potential preference for, or if it helps if any of the companies involved in this are HubZone certified or, have, DoD SBIR awards?
I don't think it can hurt at all, actually. Again, hey, Jeff, I mean, it might be a good idea for you and I to have an offline call. If you watch the video in there, and all the recordings are there as well, but once you get a basic understanding, we could maybe have a chat. There's some radical data center tweaks. In terms of like we're getting rid of 19-inch racks and replacing them with what we call walls of compute. And so to have somewhere where we could stand something like a small piece of this up, and I think that's the other question, is we're trying to get to a proof of concept level, right? So there's a long way to go before we have anything deployable in a production sense, if we get this off the ground. But yeah, if we did have some space in one of those facilities, that would, and you've got that engagement with the government already, then that could be a useful piece of the proposal.
Yeah, no, we've already we've already got the Air Force contract. We're also in large partnerships with IBM Federal, who's embedding our technology inside of many of their solutions. We were also the first small business to ever have a meeting with a DISA director. So we got to meet with, we had a direct meeting with Lieutenant General Skinner, who runs the Defense Information Systems Agency. And he's basically the #2 IT guy in the entire federal government.
Okay, sounds great. Well, you may be able to help us considerably. So, yeah. So, well, if you do me a favor, Jeff, if you can take a look at that video, ping me an email, and I'd be happy.
Yeah, where is the video? I'm on the website. I don't see it on the front page.
If you look at the OCP HPC wiki, are you on that?
I'm trying to find an HPC. Where are the wiki sites?
If you just do in Google search OCP HPC wiki, it should be the first hit.
Oh, got it.
And then in the welcome, there's a recording and the slides.
Got it.
Also, there's our original response that we sent. There was an RFI a couple of years ago, so you will also see the response we sent into the RFI. Things have moved on a bit since then, but okay.
Got it. I'll go through that. Yeah, definitely looking forward to chatting with you as well.
Yeah, and then ping me a message once you've done that, and we can discuss a little bit more. And if you want to, depend on how you feel you can contribute, and if your company is happy to follow through with it, then yeah, more hands the better on this, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and the better solution, also makes the proposal look better too, right, as a whole.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, again, I do think the collaboration of many small companies that have a lot of smarts in the different disciplines across the silos will be a big differentiator here to the proprietary solutions that is the only solution today is you have to have everything NVIDIA or everything AMD, etc. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to reinvent the IBM PC for today's computing needs.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the key things from my time doing HPC stuff at Sun Microsystems was all of these checkpoints that have to happen where you basically you minimize the utilization opportunities for all of your assets or infrastructure every time you hit one of those checkpoints, and then have to go back and fix a problem, and then go back and re-pull all your data back up and rerun that
Well, I do need to run, but we do have an opportunity to because we're starting literally from the ground up. We can put these things in place hopefully from the ground up. So so any contribution there along those lines, we have this clean sheet thinking capability on this. It's a once if we get off the ground, it's a once in a lifetime sort of effort. So yeah, to capture those.
No, agree.
All right, guys, I do need to run, but thank you very much for all joining, and see you in a couple of weeks.
Cheers, thanks.
Or at the other breakouts.